Hello, everyone. We are thrilled to have with us today Jaime, who is architect, graduated from Universidad Politécnica de Valencia. And during this masterclass, Jaime will guide us through the process of integrating and sharing Dynamo scripts as a Revit buttons, using a clash detection script as a prime example. But that's not all. Towards the end of this session, Jaime will provide a brief explanation of how Ziggurat students can take advantage of this exclusive offer. Hello, Jaime, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you for having us. So let's start.
Yep.
Yep. You can share with, you can share with us.
Yep. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, that's
Go
great.
ahead.
Okay, so welcome everyone to this session about integrating and sharing DynamoScript as Revit bottoms. So my name is Jaime Alonso Candau. I wanted to do also a little bit introduction about what we do at Nonica.io. Basically, we are a startup based in Netherlands, in Delft, and we are primarily focused on developing add-ins, Revit add-ins that are published in Autodesk App Store. But we do also develop Dynamo scripts and implement automation strategies for companies here using visual programming skills, visual programming scripts. So the structure of the presentation today is going to have mainly three parts. We're gonna start with some introduction about application in Dynamo and some packages you can use to put in practice those applications. And then we're gonna focus a little bit more on a sample class detection script. Later on, we're gonna use that script to integrate it as a Revit bottom. And we're gonna explore how you can get status reports, shortcuts, or schedule the execution of that Dynamo script directly in Revit. Finally, thirdly, we're going to see how we can share and deploy that Revit bottom with other colleagues. Basically, through importing, exporting, also we're going to see how we can push and pull changes in toolbars remotely and how we can analyze the data we gather from our colleagues when we deploy Revit bottoms. At the end of the presentation, we're going to briefly explain you how you can get a free license of Nonica Tab Pro. So if you are interested, please stay until the end, and then you can get it for free for being a student of Ziggurat. Okay, so before getting into the presentation, I think it's appropriate to explain the version and the software we're going to be using today. So we're going to use Revit 2023, Dynamo 2.13, and Nonica Tab Pro 4.3.3. So this is our own solution for deploying Dynamo script and sharing them at scale. And we're going to later on see all the features in this presentation. But before, I always like to start with a brief introduction of what Dynamo is, if someone have never heard of it or is not very sure what you can do or what you can achieve with Dynamo. Basically, Dynamo is a no-code programming interface that is built mainly in Revit. So you can use Dynamo to interact within different platforms, but let's say the biggest advantage is that it's super flexible. It brings you the power of programming into a more easy way to develop those scripts. So it can also be used for automation and basically automate design tasks, but also for interaction within platforms, as I was saying, but also more advanced analysis. For example, you can use it for sustainability analysis or structural analysis. In the bottom, in the left bottom, you can see an example of a Dynamo script that basically export information from a Revit model into an Excel file. So that is very handy, and you can see that just by like, let's say, placing some boxes and interconnecting them, you can achieve like very powerful solution and scripts. So you don't even have to really know how to type code to achieve these solutions. So the applications and samples that we bring today, we bring 7 applications that we consider are probably the most, let's say, important or within Dynamo. You can see at the top, like the different application. We have like parametric design and generative design. And then at the bottom in the second row, you can see the packages that are linked to those applications. So for example, in the first case, we have Dynamo native nodes. So when we do, for example, for parametric and generative design, we don't usually use any package. We just use the built-in Dynamo nodes for that. One example that we have, and we're not going to go into the detail today, but for example, is the structure of the Museum of Arts and Science in Valencia, is the Umbracle building. It's a modular structure, and you can use Dynamo to build that models and to make a responsive structure. Basically, you can change the different parameters and the structure will change according to those. Next, we have 4D simulation. For that, we have the Dynamo package. The Dynamo package allows you to run scripts periodically. It's not available in the package manager, but if you make a Google search, I'm pretty sure you will find it. And with that, you can basically build, for example, 4D simulation. We did that in a project in Baza in Granada. Basically, it enables us to run the animation on a building, on how it was built, and some parts were demolished. But the sample we're going to focus today is model inspection. The model inspection, the nodes we use and we consider that are critical are the bmorph nodes. That package is very, very helpful. I'm going to explain you a little bit more about it a little bit later. On the right, you can see there are 3, let's say, presentation at the bottom that we think are interested if you are mainly focusing on the structural analysis, sustainability analysis, or design automation. So feel free to have a look to them. Those are like great Autodesk University classes, and the one in the middle is from Gavin Graham, but great, a great professional using Dynamo in his daily basis. So have a look to those. Okay, but focusing on the case of today, we're gonna see a class detection script. This is the model we're gonna be working with. Basically, what the script is gonna be doing is giving 2 Revit categories. The script is gonna basically detect all the classes between those 2 Revit categories, and it's gonna create isolated 3D views with the elements. So we can basically go straight and work on those elements without having to go to Navisworks and come back to Revit and then work on the geometry. It's like a most effective way of working with your geometry and with classes. As you can see, like also like the 3D views are created with a section bus that is locating only the class that has been detected, but also coloring the elements, so it's even more obvious where the class is happening. Yeah, let me see. And this is basically the Dynamo script. So it's quite a complex one. I'm not going to go through all the details of it, but I thought it will be interesting to at least have a look to the central part, the most important part, which is the bmorph nodes. As you can see in the left, we have the element intersect element node that basically detects the intersection between the elements we provide. So we feed the geometry into that node, and from there we create the bounding boxes for the 3D views with that package. So before explaining how we can integrate the Dynamo script and to take full advantage and access the information within the script, it's important that we do a little bit of configuration of our script. So basically, we are gonna set our nodes as input and output, so we can access the data and modify it directly in Revit when we want to execute it. So in order to do that, we're gonna go to the beginning of the script, and we have the classing categories. We are gonna select those nodes and we're gonna right click and click on is input. We're gonna do the same for the second one. And then we're gonna go to a different part of the script and also select the report name as input. Finally, we're gonna select as output now because we wanna know what is going on in our script after we execute it. We are gonna select as output this node that let us know how many views have been created. And that's it. We can simply save it and we can go to Revit. Okay, so Revit, this is our plugin. It's called Nonica Pro, and it was mainly thought as 12 empty bottoms that you can use to customize with your own Dynamo script. So it's super, super simple to integrate your script and share it with other people. So first of all, we're going to see how we can include our script. So we are going to go to the first button and click on the drop down and then click on set up a script. Then as soon as we select the script, we see that the bottom changed, but also the name. Okay, but we can also set up an icon. Our plugin already includes a library of more than 100 icons. You can select any of those, but you can also select any other JPG or PNG image, and that will go straight into the bottom. Once we got the, let's say the script, we can also customize the description or the name if we wish so. So we're going to explain a little bit in the description what is the script doing basically. It's basically detecting classes between Revit categories. As soon as we set it up, we can basically explore that information as it does any other Revit bottom. So it's very intuitive for other professionals that work only with Revit and not with Dynamo to use and explore what is going on or what those scripts are doing. So the execution, basically when we press any button, we are gonna execute Dynamo in the background, and all the results are gonna be brought into the current Revit model automatically. So it is super, super easy to do so. And in this case, we're gonna press, and as you see, we got this window. This window is basically because we selected inputs node. Those inputs allows us to change specific information in our script before running them. So for example, in this case, we're gonna run the script with walls and floors, but we could also choose to modify those categories to detect classes between other categories, for example. Additionally, we could change the name of the report, or for example, freeze certain branches of our script. So as you can see, that will basically disable the export of a new class detection report. So it's also a way of accessing and manipulating your Dynamo script in a further way. Basically, as soon as we click on apply and run, we're going to see several things. First, we see that we got some outputs. We see that it notifies us that 6 views have been created, but we also see we are also notified that the script has been successfully run. So this let us know the time in which the script was run, but also how long it took to run the script. In this case, was 3.5 seconds. And as you see, all the class detection views has been created in the Revit file. Okay, but in the previous case, like the script was properly, let's say, successfully run, but what will happen if we have errors? Well, we can simply click on the notification cloud and we will get a full report of all the nodes that have errors in our script. So that is very powerful because we can actually see and explore what is going on in every execution we do directly in Revit. Additionally, we see, for example, if there are nodes that are frozen, and we can export this whole report to Excel to share it with somebody else. So this literally brings a lot of information when you're executing your script from Revit. Okay, the next feature is shortcuts and playlists. Basically, our bottoms can be set up with Revit default shortcuts, but we have created our own shortcut system. does bring us more flexibility and more power to create more things, as you're gonna see now. So every button has by default one shortcut. The first button is gonna be A1, the second button is gonna be A2, but we can also customize those shortcuts. In order to do so, we can simply click on Setup Details and we can change that key. But if we go to the second button, we see that it's A2, and if we click on A1, we are gonna create what is a playlist. A playlist is pretty much going to be a sequence of DynamoScript that is going to be one after the other. And we can change the order of the scripts in our playlist. As soon as we click on apply, we can click on the shortcut, in this case A1, and we're going to run the entire playlist we created. So this basically is going to bring, well, the inputs and outputs that we need in every execution. And yeah, it's pretty much gonna execute one script after the other, and we can also access all the status reports from our executions, change inputs, get information from outputs. So it's a powerful way to have modular scripts that can be run one after the other. And then we have the scheduler. The scheduler enables you to run scripts automatically to schedule their execution. So we can do so by time or by action. Okay, by time is gonna mean that our app, Nonica Tab Pro, is gonna run your script every X minutes. So you can select 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and the app will run the script automatically without having you to push it. This is very powerful, for example, if you want to track how much time your colleagues are spending in each project. So you could, for example, create a script that add a new record to a database with that information, and then having this central database will enable you to keep track on that information, for example. Additionally, we can also set it up by action. By action means that basically every time an action is detected in Revit, that is going to be detected, and after the action is being executed, it's going to execute the Dynamo script automatically. So for example, we can set up a script to be run automatically after opening a Revit file, after saving a Revit file, printing a Revit file, or for example, synchronizing with central model or loading a family. And this is very, very simple to set it up. Basically, we just need to click a few boxes. In this case, we're going to schedule the entire playlist we created previously, and we're going to execute every time the Revit file is saved. And we click on apply, and we're going to save the model. As soon as we save, of course, the model is saved, and then we got our playlist executed. So we got the two scripts that are run one after the other, and we can customize all the information as previously explained. Okay, so we have been looking at 12 buttons all the time, but actually our app enables you to have up to 36 Dynamo scripts integrated in Revit. Those are basically organized in 3 groups of script, which are default, beta, and gamma. The names of the profiles can also be customized. You can use those profiles to have like different functions. For example, you will have the default profile with modeling scripts. You could have the beta profile with auditing scripts, or different purposes. So you can really organize and sort your scripts. Finally, when we have our 36 Dynamo scripts set up with shortcuts, schedule tasks, and playlists if required, we can export them. So that is very powerful because we can share all our buttons at once with other computers. In order to do so, we're going to create a .nonica file. So to do so, we're going to go into settings, and we're going to click on export. It asks if we want to include scheduling information and shortcuts. We're going to click yes. And then we're going to select an existing, we're going to select an existing file. So basically, because there is an existing file, we're going to be asked which changes happen in the toolbar. So in this case, we're gonna explain what happened. Well, we included a new class detection script, and that information is gonna basically be included in the file. So with that, we are gonna create that .nonica file. It's a single file located in your computer that you can share with anybody. That single file is gonna include not only your Dynamo scripts, but also it's gonna include all the names, description, shortcuts, schedule tasks, playlists, but also it's going to scan every single Dynamo script that you have integrated, and it's going to include the Dynamo packages necessary to run them properly in other computers. All that is done automatically. If we want to see how we can import those, it's also very, very simple. So we can just go into settings panel again, and then we are going to click now on import. And we're going to select that .nonica, well, a different .nonica file just for you to see the changes in the bottoms. And as you see, all the bottoms changes automatically. But the best thing is that the packages are automatically installed in the process. So you no longer need to go into Dynamo and select, look for the packages and install them. It's all done automatically. So you just need to press on the button and run them. Okay, so the import and export function is really great, but in some cases, there are large companies that have like 20, 30 computers connecting to the same toolbar. And it can be quite annoying if you have to, every time you make a change in a toolbar, if you have to import and export in all the computers. So for that, we created a feature called Connect that enables you to make changes remotely in your toolbars in other computers. So we are going to explain how that works. It's also very, very simple. So first of all, we are going to export the toolbar as we saw before. We're going to include the shortcuts, and we're going to create the .nonica file in OneDrive, in a folder in OneDrive. So everyone can access that file. As soon as we click on save, we are going to create that file, and then we are going to go to the target computer. This could be one computer or could be 1,000 of them. But what is great is that it's very, very simple to keep those updated. So we're going to now click on Connect. As you see, instead of import, we click on Connect, and then we go to OneDrive. We are going to select the .nonica file, and that's it. Basically, the Connect feature, what it's going to do is that every time a Dynamo script is executed, the toolbar is checked. Well, the app checks that the latest version of the toolbar is the one running, and if it's not, it's gonna automatically update your toolbar. So I'm gonna show you how that works. It's just to make a change remotely in other toolbars. So we're gonna first change the script and also change the icon of the bottom to make it more visual. And finally, we're gonna also change the name just to show the update. Okay, once we have the change made in our toolbar, we want to share it with other people, right? So what we are gonna do now is we're gonna go to settings and we're gonna click on export again. We're gonna include the shortcuts and we're gonna go to the OneDrive location we went before, where everyone is connected to. And we're gonna select the .nonica file. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're going to select the .nonica file. As soon as we select the .nonica file, we're going to be asked what changes happen, who make the changes and when. So we're going to explain which change happened, so we can have like an organized registry of every change, versions, and users that are making change in our toolbars, and also include the number of the version of the toolbar. And then we click on override. And that is going to basically update the toolbar. But the cool thing is that in the target computers, whenever you click on any button, it's going to detect that the latest version is not the one running, and it's going to automatically update as you see in the screen. Also, the end user are going to be shown this pop-up dialog that basically tells them what is going on in their toolbar. So for example, if they have a script that wasn't running properly before because it was not properly done, they could know that one has been replaced and that they can start using it again. So it also notifies the end user what changes happen and who made those changes. Okay, so the next part is the data analytics part. Basically, when you have your Dynamo scripts shared in companies, you want to have more information about how your Dynamo script are executed. So for that, we created a dashboard. All that you see in the screen is built in Revit, so you don't have to go to Power BI or Excel to create your own graphs. Everything is built by default in Revit and accessible in 2 clicks. Basically, what you have here is at the top left, you see there is the overall execution status pie chart, which brings an overall view of the total number of executions in your team, how many of them were run with errors or warnings. In the right, you see that there is like a timeline graph. This basically shows you how many scripts were run in the time frame selected. So we can explore if, for example, there are more scripts, more Dynamo scripts run now than before, if there are less error in our scripts run now than before. And basically, we can see how our automation strategies with Dynamo script evolve. Then we have at the right, we have the version of the different software. We have the Revit version or Dynamo version, and how many users are using each software. Basically, this graph, you just need to click on settings and click on the data analytics. Then you're gonna see, as I was saying, the graphs. But the cool thing is that all the graphs are interactive. You can basically hover over them, and you're gonna get more specific information about the graph, about each specific point of the graph. You can switch also the time frame to 88 hours, 60 days, 18 months, if you wish to, just to have like a more, let's say, general view over the time, if you want to. Then at the right, we have the user we were mentioning before, number of users using each version. And at the bottom, probably what is the most powerful thing is the execution per Dynamo script. Well, with the execution per Dynamo script, you can see which Dynamo script specifically was run more often than other, and how many errors were in each Dynamo script. So if there is a Dynamo script that, for example, is not being used as you thought it will be, you can replace that. Or if you found that there are like a lot of errors in any of them, maybe you can also work and update those. Additionally, you have the option to explore the number of execution per user. So you can see how many execution are, well, each user running in their computers. And if there is, for example, somebody that is not running Dynamo scripts, you could detect, well, those users and speak to them and maybe propose training programs or explain the software better for them to use and automate more tasks. But the real power comes when you start filtering and interacting more with the data. So in the left part, you have filters available to show the information you want and only the information you want. So for example, you can filter by date and show only the execution until the 1st of August, and all the graphs are only gonna display that information. And you can also filter, for example, by user. You can see only the execution for a specific user, and all the graphs again are gonna only show the execution for that user. Additionally, you can switch between users or see the execution for a user in a specific project if you want to see how's that going. Then we have the data set. In the data set, basically, well, first of all, you can export those graphs into images if you want to share the graph with somebody else. But then you have the data set. Well, initially, the graphs you have seen are going to display only the information for the user in the computer, in your computer. So if you install the tool and you start using the tool, you're only gonna start seeing your executions. That is built by default. But if you want to explore, as you saw in this slide, the data in your team, you can add a data folder. That is also very, very simple. You just click on there and select the folder, but I'm going to explain you how data is gathered and how you can choose that folder to explore the data of the execution in your teams. Basically, the data collection works that every time you push an Nonica tab button, we have 15 fields of information. In the built-in graphs, we saw what we consider is the most important information for users accessible, but there is also much more information that you can access if you want to. For example, we have the time spent to execute a specific node. We can explore how long it took to run each node. We can explore, for example, the nodes that brought more errors. We can explore the packages that are included in more scripts. We can explore if they were scheduled or run from a shortcut. So all that is accessible to you if you want to build custom Power BI or Excel graphs. So by default, the data is gathered in the program files of Nonica Tab Pro, and it's using CSV format, which, as I was saying, is fully compatible with Power BI and Excel. And then when you basically deploy and share your Revit buttons with other people, and you use the connect feature, by default, every time a user run a Nonica tab button, this folder next to the .nonica file, the DA exported toolbars folder, is going to be automatically created, and it's going to include all the information, all the data of the execution of your users. So not only you are going to be able to, let's say, keep all the toolbars in your team updated with the connect feature, but also with that feature, you gather data in OneDrive next to the file. And as you can see, we have here the TXT file, which includes all the data of the executions. And this is only an example of Power BI graphs that we created. These are custom graphs. Those are not built in Revit. You need the Power BI app. But you can explore more information, as I was saying, about, for example, the nodes that brought more errors in your teams. You can explore, for example, which packages were run more often, or well, which specific script brought more errors, or which scripts include those nodes. Okay, so we are reaching almost the end of the presentation. So I wanted to explain you how you can get a free license of our premium plugin that I've explained in this presentation. So for being a student of Sigurat, you can get a 6-month license that is renewable. So if you keep being a student of Sigurat, you can keep extending and using our tool for free. We are super happy to help the educational community. And basically, you need to follow these 3 steps in order to get your free license. First, you need to go into the App Store, Autodesk App Store, and look for our add-in Nonica Tab Pro. It's important that you choose the Pro version. We also have a free version, but the free version does not include all the features that we saw in this presentation. So please choose the Pro version. There is a free trial, so you don't need to add any credit card or payment method. So you can just download the 30-day free trial. And after doing so, you can verify your Autodesk account. It's important that you use the same account that you use for downloading from the App Store. You can see which, let's say, account is linked to your Revit license, clicking in here. And from there, you can see the email. And if you see what we see now, like the signing, is because you're probably using a network license. So no problem about that. If you got also that, we also can provide you the Pro license for free. And after verifying that you're using the same account in the App Store and Revit license, we just need you to send a proof of enrollment of Sigurat. So basically, the email is the one you see in the screen, education@nonica.io. And you send there the proof of enrollment from your student email, and that's it. We do the rest. We basically review your application, confirm and extend your license, and you don't even have to, let's say, install again any software or make any changes. You can keep using the Pro version since the very beginning you install it. And then, we also have a YouTube channel. I thought it was worth mentioning, in which we explain more in detail each of the features that we saw in the presentation today. So if you are interested or want to know more, feel free to get into the YouTube channel, and also you can contact us. We are also super happy to try to help you using our software and with any doubt or question you have regarding. So that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Jaime.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So it's very, 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 very interesting. Thanks a lot for participating and for sharing your expertise in this area. Thank you a lot.
Thank you very much for inviting. It was my pleasure to be here today, and feel free to reach me if somebody needs help or we can be of any.
Okay, so we are finishing our masterclass. I would like to invite you guys to scan this QR code to explore our BIM management courses, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone,
See
for
you.
being here and for inviting me.